lose more than 100 seats to Reform due to voter concerns about immigration and the NHS crisis. The Telegraph says the NHS is prioritising asylum seekers over the general public despite long waiting times. The Express reports on campaigners criticising Labour's planned social care reforms. Daily Mirror reports that 17-year-old dart sensation Luke Littler expected to rake in £50 million over his career. Well, the Financial Times reports that City Minister Tulip Siddiq received a central London flat in 2004 from a developer linked to the recently ousted Bangladeshi Prime Minister. The Star reports on the Health Secretary's advice for people to turn on their heating during the cold snap, despite the government's cuts to the winter fuel allowance. A reminder, by scanning the QR code you'll see on screen during the programme, you can check out those front pages for yourself while you listen to our guests. So let's head straight to Anita and Susie. Welcome to both of you. Interesting set of papers, has to be said, for Saturday. But let's start with the Times. This is Starmer, who's going to talk about the NHS, we're told, on Monday, being derailed by Donald Trump and Elon Musk about windmills and North Sea oil. Anyway, Anita, take it away.
Yeah, I mean, this is very much a sign of things to come. And for the next 4 years, I think we're going to be saying a lot that Starmer's agenda has been derailed by something happening over in the US. So, yes, this is very much the fact that there have been effectively attacks, it's hard to describe them in any other way, by Donald Trump and his billionaire backer, the Elon Musk, who has made a kind of quite a big thing, I think, over the past year, really, of attacking Keir Starmer, and certainly since he became the Prime Minister. So, President-elect Trump says that the government has made a big mistake by increasing the windfall tax, which is, the tax on North Sea oil and gas, people kind of getting the oil out of the ground, after an American company said that actually they are going to end its production probably as a result of the level of taxation that's being granted. And, you're also seeing the fact that there was this sort of opening up the North Sea, getting rid of the windmills, which is a big bugbear of Donald Trump's. And I'm not sure if you were following the case that took place over his golf course, where effectively he appealed to the UK Supreme Court saying, gosh, you absolutely cannot allow these wind farms to be anywhere near my golf course. And he lost. So you can imagine there's a big kind of personal vendetta being meted out by Donald Trump right now, which Starmer will not be delighted to have to deal with.
Yes, I mean, that is the lead for the inside pages, isn't it? Trump takes the PM into the windmills of his mind. I mean, there used to be a thing that you don't interfere in another nation's politics. This is the president-elect and somebody who's going to be in his government should all go according to plan. But, this is election interference in some regard and sort of post-election interference, isn't it? So what... Is it allowable? Should it be frowned upon? And what does Starmer do about it?
But I'm old enough to remember when Theresa May was Prime Minister, which was the last time Donald Trump was President, and he kept derailing her Brexit deal every 5 minutes, which had massive constitutional implications, not only for Britain at the time, but for subsequent Prime Ministers trying to deal with Brexit deals, and goodness knows what else. And he knows nothing at all about Brexit, but apparently we all had to listen to him anyway.
And also he predicted that it was going to go that way, remember, his absolute rock-solid belief.
So, I mean, it's partly because of Trump is the kind of president he is. There's a huge gravitational weight to him as far as the media is concerned. It's a car crash, and it's interesting to watch it. And you don't know if somehow he might manage something brilliant by being disruptive, by accident almost, or if it's all going to go horribly wrong. But everyone wants to watch it, so the media therefore focus on it. So therefore the politicians have to respond to it. So Keir Starmer finds himself in a situation where we have a North London barrister, a KC, a very successful, rich, wealthy, clever, well-educated man, is having to have phone calls with someone who makes Joe Biden look like maybe he was slightly less than senile. And it's...
showing your politics.
What we've got here is that actually we've now got the oldest US president when he is inaugurated. And he is definitely making less sense than he ever used to, if he ever made sense the first time. And we've now got, details of phone calls between him and Starmer, which happened before Christmas, now being leaked out.
A leaked call
details. And saying that, he spent this call, at the time it was briefed out as, they both, reissued their support for Dumpty Dum.
Close historic
It now
relations.
turns out, he said, he moaned about Prince William's beard, said it was very modern. He complained about windmills rather than wind farms, because he's got this personal bugbear about his Scottish golf course. And then he praised how pretty his wife, as Keir Starmer's wife is, and said, well, he's your best asset. I mean, in terms of talking to the leader of the free world and trying to, you know, get onto track with a thing that we're going to discuss now, we need to talk about AUKUS, and we need to talk about NATO, we need to talk about Ukraine, and you just got someone going, bleh. I feel for Keir Starmer.
I mean, it's all truly fascinating, but the context too is the intervention of Elon Musk via X, via, you know, what used to be called Twitter, including, as we read down the bottom of the Times article, Musk's jibes about Starmer and tyrannical police state of Britain, including about Tommy Robinson, and the Asian grooming gangs, which takes us to the Daily Mail. Starmer guilty as anyone over grooming gangs. This is the former detective who calls for an Oldham inquiry as pressure for that grows. So the sort of the conundrum of all of this fits together, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. And I think, Susie, you talked about it being a car crash. This is a multi-way, multi-car, you know, pile-up in terms of the levels of political problems that are going to be created by for Keir Starmer, not just in the kind of material sense, but in terms of driving that agenda. So now we're talking about grooming gangs all over again and potentially kind of Keir Starmer's role. So the Mail has a whistleblower, Maggie Oliver, who kind of helped expose some of this failure in Rochdale in particular, saying that she has no faith in the Prime Minister to investigate this. You also had the kind of Conservative leader, Kemi Badenoch, talking about there need to be an inquiry. And you can see how the government will get pulled off course at various moments by these political attacks, which are coming from effectively Elon Musk, who might potentially, you might argue, be the second most powerful person in the world. And that is an extraordinary person to have in your sight, because you could argue that Donald Trump is perhaps as unfocused as ever and concerned with his little issues. But Elon Musk seems to have much more of a laser focus on backing reform and on unnerving, at the very least, perhaps unseating Keir Starmer. And that would be something to worry about. And it seems to me, most importantly, that the Starmer team have not come up with a way of dealing with that problem, because it's going to persist.
Well, and Nigel Farage tonight saying Kemi Badenoch's seat is in his sights, you know, they're coming for them effectively. But he's left with the problem of his backer, Elon Musk, supporting Tommy Robinson and the bid to get him free. So it's complicated for Nigel Farage as well, isn't it? The sort of the heart and soul of the right wing of politics.
British politics has got so much, has so much sort of magnetism with American politics that it does have to respond, and they do sort of feed off each other. But the fact is that people who are now influencing American politics make no actual sense. The stuff Elon Musk says is factually wrong. It can be proven as wrong. Tommy Robinson is a serial criminal offender with more than one crime under his belt. There's very good reasons that he's in jail, and that's exactly where he should be, and I hope he's watching us tonight. But, you know, when it comes to talking about rape gangs, what Keir Starmer did or didn't do, he did launch the first prosecution into the rape gangs, and he also kind of started this sort of conspiracy theory, in a way, by saying, well, look, we didn't prosecute when we should have done. And there was a problem because of the ethnicity of some of the offenders, that was perhaps why we didn't do it. So he kind of acknowledged that years ago, a decade ago. And that's kind of led to some of this conspiracy theory that's still going on. But, you know, what's really interesting is that, according to the latest police figures, grooming, group-based, I should say, sex attacks and sexual abuse accounts for about 3.7% of criminal behaviour and abuse on children. 96.3% is not gang-based, it's not group-based. And most of those things which are in groups, anyway, are to do with churches, schools, clubs, that kind of thing.
But grooming is part of it. Trigger issues, isn't it?
But it is, if you want to have an inquiry into the massive problem with child sexual abuse in this country, the fact there are hundreds of thousands of children at risk of it, that in every class in this country, in every school, there are children being sexually abused, most likely by family members and most likely at home, then that is the 96%, not the 3%.
So if you sort of build this as issues landing on Sir Keir Starmer's desk post-New Year, you've got how to deal with America, this grooming gangs bubbling issue. Also, the Daily Express, the social care reforms which had been promised have been slightly pushed into the long grass, haven't they? That's the sort of sensation for people today.
I mean, not slightly. I think they've been heavily lobbed into the long grass, but I'm not convinced it's been done very successfully. I think someone's got a slightly dodgy left foot, because the reality of the situation is that there is no solution to the social care problem that doesn't involve making painful political choices and deciding who should pay. And ultimately, a lot of the people that will pay will be a particular group of voters that will either respond to the Labour or the Conservatives. The idea that this is ever going to be politically neutral, or even that it's going to be less politically painful if the government doesn't have courage and make a choice at a moment where it has political leverage, 4 years for people to get over it, and for perhaps to see some positive impacts on local government, for instance, it's all for the birds. So this has been a real mess for the government that's going to come back to bite.
And just very quickly, biting now, we know people were left in hospital over Christmas because there weren't social care places to look after people, just as we see flu surging in this country right now.
Exactly. And I mean, we've had 25 years of social care discussions and commissions and inquiries and reports. The NHS was formed after a 3-year, Attlee came in 45. It was 3 years later the NHS was appeared. So you could say that Wes Streeting's 3-year thing is maybe that is, par for the course. But seeing as we've had 25 years, and like Anita said, I completely agree with her, the political lunacy of leaving this till almost the next election.
2028.
The year before the next election is due, when it cannot possibly have started, it cannot possibly have got through the teething problems that would be inevitable with a massive change like that. And then going into an election where your opponents can argue with you as to whether or not you've done it properly is insane. They should be going into that election 3 years after having set up a social care system. They should have done it on day one. They should have said, we're taking you into fuel payments, we're going to spend it on this, it'll be OK. And then by the time the election came round, the Tories would have to argue, well, you should let Granny die.
Very interesting. Lots more to pack in to our next part of our programme. Thank you for now, including weather warnings across parts of the UK ahead of a weekend of snow and freezing rain. That and plenty more in just a moment.
We arrive. A secret hospital hidden in the Myanmar jungle, treating the victims of this bloody war. This is Myanmar today. Its military rulers don't want the world to see, but we have.
I fight for my own future. I fight for my generation's future.
This is an actual crime.
They don't care for that.
Myanmar army is only a couple of kilometers away. So this is a major humanitarian disaster.
I'm Siobhan Robbins, Sky's Europe correspondent based here in Berlin.
In Sweden, police have seized a lethal stash.
Anyone of any age could say, I'll do that for £1 million and then have to go and shoot someone.
Yes. Sky News, the full story first. I'm Greg Milam and I'm Sky's Chief North of England correspondent.
This is insane. This was a bustling residential area.
I'm Yusra Al-Bagher, Sky's Africa correspondent based in Johannesburg, South Africa.
How difficult is this to police tonight? Off the scale.
I'm Dan Whitehead, Sky News' West of England and Wales correspondent.
Trust in politics is at an all-time low. What's going wrong and can we fix it? It's from Liz. She wants to know, why is there still no sign of the Labour Party electing a woman as leader?
It's sort of embarrassing. It takes a very strong man to be leader, but it takes an even stronger man to support a woman for leader.
If you want to be mean to politicians, crack on. The activists that go out and make elections happen, I kind of feel just don't be horrible to them. Be polite to them in the same way that they're polite to you.
Keir Starmer has got us into government with a big majority. He was completely clear before the election that he wasn't going to be able to do the two-child benefit policy, but I wouldn't be surprised if it isn't an early thing that comes along.
I went up to Gordon Brown and said, hello? No, yes, where is it? I said, found all these Tory candidates breaking land. Let me see it. This is brilliant.
I'm Katie Spencer and I'm Sky News' arts and entertainment correspondent. As a team, we've interviewed some of the biggest stars in the world, the likes of Tom Cruise, Brad Pitt, Sir Elton John. We try to give you an honest sense of how these people really are.
There's always more to the news than a headline. We want to discover, to delve a little deeper, to find out what's really going on. Explanation, analysis, the people at the heart of every story. I'm Neil Patterson, and this is the Sky News Daily Podcast. So, by the end, we'll hopefully all understand what's going on in the world just that little better. Available wherever you get your podcasts.
We've got your Sunday mornings covered. From the front page and the sounds of the streets to the voices of the people who make the major calls and big picture politics beyond Westminster. We'll put you at the heart of our story. A new start to Sunday. I'm ready. Are you? Join me, Trevor Phillips, Sunday mornings on Sky News.
Yeah. Well, welcome back. You are watching the press preview, joined once again by Anita Boateng and Susie Boniface. Welcome back to both of you. Let's talk weather, shall we, with the weather warnings this weekend. A fantastic photograph in the Daily Telegraph. Here comes the snow. Snowfall around Stonehenge, they said, in Wiltshire, marking the beginning of the white weekend in Britain. But, Susie, the Daily Star, hitting on the political point here, which is that the Health Secretary has said to people, urged people, now is the time to put your heating on. As everybody points out, yes, but what about those people for whom you took away winter fuel payments?
Exactly. It's the kind of thing that keeps coming back and biting them on the bum every time they say anything. Now, to be fair to Wes, he's giving a series of interviews about the social care reforms. He's asked in there about the weather. He's asked in there about winter fuel payments. He's asked in there about flu crisis that's going through the NHS at the moment. And he says the sensible thing for any government minister, which is, well, put your heating on, keep yourself warm, look after yourself. You don't want anyone to go to hospital, they don't have to. And they managed to make something like this out of it. It's a dumb thing to have said. But, you know, one of the problems that we've had with this flu crisis, and he is Health Secretary now, is that the messaging about flu vaccinations has not been good enough. There are loads of people who are valid for it who have not got it, older people and children at school. And there are people who are my age who can get it if you go and pay 15, 20 quid at the pharmacy. No one knows, no one sees the report. Unless you happen to be in the pharmacist and you're so bored you're reading the wall, you don't know that those vaccinations are available. There's been no messaging, no public health support at all. And it comes down to the fact that when the Health Secretary is caught out in an interview, he says something and suddenly someone goes, oh, am I supposed to turn heating? He should be saying, go and get vaccinated. Go and get vaccinated next year if you don't do it this year. And he's not. He's saying just the wrong thing in the wrong way. And I don't know if it's being clumsy or left-footed or being caught out by the interviewer, but it's just the messaging is so bad with this guy.
And, you know, flu vaccine came out late, flu came early, caused part of the problem. Very quickly, nice little learner, Daily Mirror, Luke Littler, used the force, Luke. It says, anyway, £50 million they suggest he might earn over his career after his fantastic win earlier this year.
Yes, and he's already made £3 million in prizes and deals. So, I mean, all power to him. I think to have achieved something so enormous when you're 17 is very impressive. And I know nothing about darts, but I might start learning something.
Look, even my 85-year-old mum said she was staying up to watch last night.
Oh,
so
wow.
there you go. So, you know, it's tickled some people. But
Absolutely,
only 17 years old, to show such composure, you know, at such a young age, with the world watching you, you know, extraordinary thing to behold.
Yeah, and he's obviously put a lot of years into it. He's got a natural skill, and one of the great things about it is you see someone who's just good at one particular thing and it manages to blossom and then can exploit it, and that's wonderful. I do worry having that much success and that much money at 17, where it's going to take him. I hope he's got the right advisors around him and the right family support.
There are worse situations to be in, and sales of dartboards are going through the roof, apparently. The Littler effect will continue. There we go. Hoisting aloft the Sid Waddell Trophy to great delight to the Ali Pali crowd, as you can see there. Quite a show, isn't it? Both of you, thank you very much indeed. See you next time. Good to see you, both of you, Anita and Susie. Let's take a look at that all-important weather, though, shall we now? Mix of snow, rain and freezing rain will spread north this weekend, bringing icy stretches and disruption. Yellow and amber weather warnings have been issued for snow and ice. Parts of Ireland and northern England can expect the heaviest snow, with up to 40 centimetres possible on the Pennines and the Wicklow Mountains. Other areas of England and Wales will be at risk of heavy snow too, along with freezing rain and ice before milder air moves into the south. The weekend then will start mostly fine, if frosty. There'll be a few wintry showers around first of all. Expect some icy stretches and freezing fog. Plenty of morning sunshine, albeit hazy in the south. Fog will linger in a few spots. Exposed coastal areas in the northwest will keep the risk of showers. It'll be cold again. And then the afternoon will see the wind and the rain moving into the southwest, with snow developing inland. That snow pushing northeastwards overnight. Sunday will bring snow, rain and freezing rain. Well, Sky News at 11 is next. Teenage sensation Luke Littler becomes the youngest ever person to win the World Darts Championship. That and the rest of the day's news coming up shortly.
Weeknights on Sky News.
This is your chance. Tell people. Welcome to the Politics Hub.
Our police force has apologised. If you want to find out about Grimsby, you come to the docks.
I'm live in Jerusalem.
Are you not concerned that that could lead to all-out war?
Hello there, good evening. There are fears of an upsurge in violence. What's at stake here?
You are watching the press preview, a first look at the front pages as they arrive.
I'm James Matthews and I'm Sky's US correspondent, based here in Washington, D.C. Donald Trump, it would appear, is about to learn his fate. There's no doubting the strength of this hurricane as it roars through. Sky News, get the full story first. Do you fear a fourth indictment?
He's from Sky News. He's from Sky News. He's entitled to ask me questions.